What's up, everybody? Just wanted to shoot a little updated video about the changes that have happened to Sony Pro Mode with the new X1 Ultimate chipset. So if you look here on the menu, in the interest of time, I've already gone ahead and entered Pro Mode. It's very easy to do. Display, mute, volume up, and home. If you've entered that sequence correctly within 2 seconds, the TV will reboot, and you'll get a menu on when the TV comes back up, you'll get a message on the top of the screen that says Pro Settings and Process. And then, of course, if we scroll over here to the gear settings, you'll also get a new option in the menu that says Pro Settings at the top of the page. So we'll go ahead and pick that option. And I've already set the TV up for Pro Mode in the past, but I just want to walk through some of the changes that have happened to the menu and talk about some of the things that the TV can do versus some of the stuff that it can't do. So we're going to scroll down here all the way to the bottom, and we have a bunch of different options here. So the very last thing that we want to do is start Pro Mode, which is at the top of the menu here. So we're going to work our way up from the bottom. If we look here at the Quick Settings tab, basically on the remote, there's a gear on the new G-Series TV's remotes. You'll see an icon that looks like a gear. When you press that button, the quick settings will pop up from the bottom of the page. Do you want to keep the default view? Would you like a basic view? Or you want to disable that option altogether? For our example here, we're going to keep the default view. Same thing with input. Do you want the default view or basic view? Default view is going to work fine for us. Apps. So you can enable apps. You can enable the App Store in Pro Mode. So if you want to go ahead and select a few, you have to sign into a Google account first. You have to download the apps through the App Store to the TV first for them to appear here. Some of the apps are going to be there by default, but things like Black Dove, things like HBO Go, stuff like that are just not going to be there by default. So any apps that you'd like to have appear there need to be downloaded in the store first. And that's going to require you either creating a Gmail account or use your own Google account or Gmail account to access those. For our example here, we're going to keep the sleep timer option enabled, and we're going to keep the media player option enabled because I want to be able to use my USB on the TV to be able to play back movies or content or pictures or whatever if I use the USB on it. But you know, other than that, really just going to keep the timers and media player. Everything else is going to be disabled for this example. Built-in tuner, we're not going to use an off-air antenna. External inputs, we're just going to use HDMI 3 for our example. I'm going to lock the TV up when it starts Pro Mode. When the TV reboots, it'll come back up onto HDMI 3, but that's really the only input on the set that I'm going to use. But you do have the option here to be able to use it without labels, not use it at all. Use without labels means essentially once you plug an HDMI into that input, the input will go active, otherwise it won't appear. But again, for our example, we're going to use HDMI 3 only. Everything else is going to be disabled. Google Cast is built into the TV, and for our example, it's going to be disabled. Screen mirroring, the same thing. Wide mode key, basically, if we want to change the aspect of the picture that's on the screen, going to go ahead and disable that as well. And then TV or remote controls, basically that gives us the option here to either use both, the remote only, use the TV buttons only, or no controls at all. We don't want the TV to ever shut off. We don't want the TV to ever be messed with for any reason. We give you all of those options. For my example here, we're going to keep both controls available. Periodic restart. So you can actually go and set the TV up to do a forced software reboot, either every day if you want, or a day during the week at a specific time. Again, really up to you, and you can set any time here you want, obviously. Big thing here, if you see in this menu, forced restart while the TV is on. So if somebody was watching TV and 12 midnight came up, the reboot would happen whether they wanted it to happen or not. So I think in this example, that's probably a case-by-case basis whether you should be using that or not. And for my example, I'm not going to be using periodic restart. Power scheduling, you can again set the TV to turn on every day at a specific time, shut off every day at a specific night, or again, you could do it weekly if you'd like. We'll just say here, we want the TV to run from 12 p.m. to midnight every day. And then we could actually say if we want that to happen every day, or again, specific times during the week that we want the TV to shut on and off. If you're using the TV as digital signage or something like that, that would be really handy capability to have enabled in the TV. You can set the initial and maximum volumes. You can have it turn on to a set volume and never go above a certain volume if you'd like. I think that's a pretty handy feature, again, if the TV is going to be in a public space, or if the TV is going to be somewhere where you don't want to have it be on a jarring volume level when it turns on in the day, at the start of the day. You can tailor that. You can tailor those options for your customers or for yourself. You can have the TV turn on to a specific input if you'd like. In our example, we already set up HDMI 3 to be the input that we're going to use on the TV set, so we want the TV to turn on to HDMI 3. Conversely, we could have it start up on an app, or we could start up on an Android app. Difference being here, this is stuff that would be built into the TV, available from Sony, like Meeting Room. This one here is an Android app that you'd be able to download from the store. So for example, you could scroll down here through the apps that you've got preloaded onto the TV and have the TV turn on to Disney Plus all the time if that's what you wanted it to do. So in the example of you don't want to use HDMI inputs and you just want the TV to be a specific venue for content, like Disney Plus, for example, you could have this TV only play Disney Plus, or only play Netflix, or only play Showtime or HBO Go, or any specific app, if that's what you want the TV to do. So when we talk about pro settings and we talk about custom, this is one of the really cool custom features that are out there for you. But again, for our example, we're just going to use HDMI 3. Developer options, you can have, if you have an app on the TV that can be controlled via a remote app, you could turn the TV on and off via that app, or maybe the apps on the TV that you've downloaded need to turn the TV on and off at a specific time or something like that. You can allow those features. Enable USB camera and web app installation, pretty self-explanatory. If you plug in a USB camera to the TV, you'll be able to use the camera and microphone through the USB on it, or the same thing here with web app installation. If you want to be able to download apps in Pro Mode, you can give yourself or give your clients the option to enable the Play Store through the menu in the TV. Restore sound and picture adjustments. So if you make any adjustments to the picture or sound quality while you're watching the TV, if you've done a calibration or you have a preset picture mode in the TV, any changes that you would make would be momentary, and the TV will go back to the calibrated mode or the setup that you had when you lock it up, or when you enabled when you set up the picture adjustments to be the way that you'd like it to be, regardless of who's watching it. I think, again, for TVs that are in a public space, or for folks that just don't want people messing around with the picture controls on their TV set whenever they use it, they want it to be the way they expect it to be. This is a really great option for those kinds of customers, those kinds of clients. You can enable the USB charging during standby mode. So if you run out of wall warts to plug your phone or your tablet into, you can charge those devices directly from the USBs on the TV. You can lock Pro Mode. So if you set up a pin here, if somebody were to see this video or figure out how to lock or unlock a TV in Sony Pro Mode, again, if the TV's in a public space, setting up a pin, probably a good idea, so that you make sure that nobody's getting in there and messing around with the TV set. Account expiration, again, pretty cool thing if you've got an app loaded in the TV that maybe allows you to share files or something secure, or even if you're a person that owns Airbnbs or something like that, or you're renting out your home as an Airbnb and you've got a TV downstairs, people come and they want to use their own credentials for Amazon Prime or Netflix, what have you. They can log into those apps using their credentials, and their credentials will be there until the TV turns off. Or again, you could keep it in the normal mode if you're using it in your own home, where, it's going to be the family that owns the house is going to be using their Netflix account, so you really don't want to have to log in every time that you use it. So it gives you that option there as well. You can point the TV at an NTP server for time code. You can decide what the home menu button does. You can wake the TV up with a video signal. You can optimize the TV for PC display, which basically means you'll get the full 0 to 255 color space as opposed to the 16 to 234 color space that we get with standard broadcast TV sets. So better picture quality, better color from your PC or your, maybe your Raspberry Pi that's hooked up to the television to feed it video signal or point of sale information, menus, whatever you want to use a display to do. Really, Pro Mode and Pro settings allow you to set up basically anything that you want. You can decide what the TV is going to do power-wise, whether it's the standard mode, whether the TV is always on or off. Really, the explanation that I have here is you can never turn off the TV, and the TV is waiting to be plugged in to be turned on when I'm selecting here. So standard mode is I can use the remote to turn the TV on and off. Always on means when I can't turn the TV on, or I can't turn the TV off once I've turned it on. And then off would be the TV is in the latched mode and really just waiting for power to turn itself on. So maybe you've got panelized power controls in a building or something like that. Again, more of a digital signage, more of a education or industry type of application where you're trying to save power at certain times during the day. If you set this to the off mode, the TV will not turn on until it actually sees power. Always on means you can't turn the TV off. And again, standard mode means I've got the remote in my hand and I can turn the TV on and off if I want to. Startup services. So these are things that you'd have to download first. Bravia Meeting free, as I'd mentioned before. You can use a USB camera or microphone to talk to other people that have the app loaded on their TVs as well. So you could have a teleconference or video conference through the screen between offices or between homes if you'd like. And then the remote firmware update service. Again, if you want the TV to do firmware downloads, firmware updates when they happen over time, you have to download this software in order for that to happen. If you do not download this update service, the TV will not update itself or update its firmware when it's in Pro Mode. So if you put it in the standard mode, you have those other menus to configure whether you're doing software downloads or not. But in this particular case, in Pro Mode, you have to download the software in order to make that happen. You can export Pro settings. So basically you can copy the settings that you've done in one TV into several other TVs if that's what you'd like to do. The key thing to know is you have to use the same series TV set. You cannot use a 900E to 950G or something like that. It really has to be same series. So 950G to 950G, A9G to A9G, Z9G to Z9G. You guys understand what I'm talking about at this point. Current settings, you can look at a tree view of all of the settings in the TV set and make sure that it's configured the way that you'd like it to be configured. If you see something that's inerrant here or not where you want it to be, you can go back to that menu and change it. You cannot change it from this menu, just really here to make sure that you can do your checklist if you will. Initialize Pro settings. So if you want to reboot and start all over again, you can wipe out all the things that we've done to the TV set and put it into Pro Mode, start all over again mode, I guess, if you'd like. Change to normal mode will put it back to the factory setting in the TV set. And last but not least is start Pro Mode. So we're going to click that option here. Yes, I want to click OK. And now the TV is going to run a series of checks. And when it turns back on, the TV is going to come back up on HDMI 3. So the LED indicates that the TV is powering on. And you know it's going to take a few seconds here for the TV to run through with all its checks and boot up to the Android logo and do all the stuff that it has to do. There's the Android logo. And now the TV's going to go ahead and start up here in a second. We should see a picture here. So there we go. The TV's powered up to HDMI 3 like we told it to. So for my folks out there that are programming remotes or writing macro actions for a control system, it's going to make stuff happen a lot faster for you. Also makes things just simpler as far as the user experience. You don't have to hunt and peck through a bunch of screens. If you have certain sources connected directly to the TV or through the AV receiver, that user experience is always going to be the same. Okay, so now we're in Pro mode and we're looking at the menu here from my AV receiver. We'll fire up the main menu for the TV set. And you'll notice that it's a lot different, right? So we only have the media player app there. I can't go into any of the deep settings because I turned all that stuff off. I've got the media player there so I can play content from a USB. I've also got the timer there and the single HDMI input that I have connected for HDMI 3. So the menu is going to be much more simplified and straightforward. But of course, you're going to ask me, how do I get out of Pro mode? Very simple. Display, mute, volume up and home, just like we did to get into this mode in the TV set. You'll see the TV power off and kind of go through the motions again. So this is really a two-step process. So kind of think of it this way. You enter Pro mode, the TV reboots, and then you get the sub menu to be able to configure the TV for Pro mode. Then you start it, you see the TV reboot again, and it runs in that condition or that platform that you have set up. It's really a two-step process again to get the TV back out of Pro mode. So we're still waiting for the TV to reboot here. We just see the LED prompting us that the TV is going to power on. We'll see the Android screen pop up here in a second, and the TV is going to populate and look normal again. However, we're still going to see the banner at the top of the screen that says Pro settings in process. So again, we'll wait for the TV to pop up here. Looks pretty familiar, kind of what we'd expect to see from before. But again, we're going to see this notification. I'll scroll around the menu here a little bit so you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. And again, we still see Pro settings up there in the top of the page. So to get out of that, we're going to go ahead and hit change to normal mode. Now, once we've selected change to normal mode, the TV is going to go ahead and reboot completely back to the factory original software. So while we're waiting for this to happen again, and we'll see the TV pop back up and populate, I really can't emphasize enough that Pro mode is not for everybody. If you want to have a simplified user experience, if you want to turn the smart TV into a specific type of monitor or type of display, these are really the avenues for Pro mode. There's no better picture, there's no better audio or anything else that's hidden in here. Really, this is strictly just to configure the monitor to be what you want the monitor to be outside of an Android smart TV set from Sony. So you still get all the great picture quality, all the processing, all the other wonderful things that go along with our high-end video performance, but you can really tailor that and focus that for exactly the experience that you want to have. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and got something out of it. Hit your comments and likes below and subscribe if you want to. Thank you.